The Paramount Plus, Showtime, Steven Spielberg, whatever the fuck Halo TV series is a mixed bag of mostly ass. And I don't say that as a hate watch guy. I say it because a show with this much money behind it and a fan base this dedicated to it has no right being this messy. Halo fans have been put through the ringer for such a long time. This IP hasn't been a true cultural touchstone in at least 15 years? At least? And basically everything since Halo 3 dropped in 2007 has started a civil war within the fanbase. And yet, millions of people still love this series. They still buy in, they still play, they still watch. I'm one of them. A lot of us grew up with this series. We have a ton of nostalgia for it, sure, but it's more than that. Halo has a vibe, a tone, this specific kind of 2000s science fiction that feels like nothing else when it's firing on all cylinders. Now, I know this show has been canceled for a while, and the internet has already produced a bajillion videos and memes roasting it to death, and then they all moved on, but I never actually finished season 1 when it was airing back in 2022. I was just so turned off by the whole show that I stopped keeping up with it entirely, and I never really saw how it ended. So when it suddenly got this big resurgence in viewership after being dumped onto Netflix, my dumb idiot lizard brain got intrigued, and I finally decided to binge the whole thing, and now I genuinely cannot stop thinking about it. Not because it's secretly good, but because it's unbelievable. The choices, the swings, the peaks and valleys in quality from one scene to the next, it's like entertainment whiplash. You'll get one genuinely solid action sequence and then immediately get hit with dialogue and plotting that feels like it wandered in from the CW's lineup of science fiction shows.
Hello, can I have your attention for a moment, please?
What are you doing?
To those of you who haven't heard of me, I'm Cortana. I'll be working with Master Chief to provide logistical and tactical support for Silver Team.
No, I didn't summon you.
Summon me?
This is coming from inside you, Chief?
So today, after that very, very long intro, I just want to talk about why this show doesn't work, both as a Halo adaptation and as its own story, because my thesis here is pretty straightforward. This series fundamentally misunderstands the world of Halo and nearly every character in it who isn't named Master Chief. And that's even up for debate. Instead of building on what already worked, it either reinvents established characters into weaker versions of themselves or creates new ones that just aren't as compelling as what came before. And when you combine that with the careless changes to the setting, the aesthetics, the music, and the core storyline priorities, the results feel less like Halo and more like this generic sci-fi script that just so happens to be wearing the franchise's name. And obviously, before we really jump in here, here's a quick spoiler warning if you care for some reason. I'm going to be talking about both seasons, major plot points, and their finales. So, you've been warned.
Studies show a little pushback is healthy in any working relationship.
Cortana,
Yes, Chief?
I need you to do me a favor.
Anything.
Stop talking.
So if you didn't watch it because you value your personal freedom and your personal time, here's a quick explainer. Before we even get to the first frame of episode 1, the show establishes that it's not doing the game timeline here. They're doing their own thing, which in theory isn't really a bad idea. I don't think anyone expected the show before it aired to just continue where the games left off. But it does kind of feel like a fancy way of saying they wanted the brand name and not the responsibility. The basic setup is still recognizable on paper as Halo. Humans have spread across the galaxy, essentially doing a cosmic manifest destiny. The UNSC is the big military power, and before the Covenant even show up, there's a bunch of human rebellions happening. There's this authoritarian vibe where the UNSC is basically this semi-fascist regime that unifies planets, whether those planets want it to or not. The UNSC's main tool for doing that is obviously the Spartans, genetically enhanced super soldiers in tank suits. That part's familiar. And then the Covenant show up and they start handing humanity loss after loss, and the humans don't really understand why. That part is also familiar. But Season 1 doesn't build toward the Halo ring the way the games do. That's where they divert. Instead, the show revolves around these two alien artifacts called Keystones. They're basically these cheap, plastic-looking glowing MacGuffins that, when activated by two special Blessed Ones, generates a map which then identifies the location of a single Halo ring. One of these Blessed Ones is Master Chief, which I guess kind of makes sense. He's the main character. And the other one is an original character created for the show named Makee, a human who was raised by the Covenant and works with them against humanity. And that's the whole kind of A-plot spine for the first season. It's multiple groups of humans bickering and scheming while everybody hunts around for these keystones. Chief is begrudgingly working with the UNSC, even though throughout the season it's revealed to him that they kidnapped him as a child and erased his memories. They essentially ruined his life and robbed him of a future. But also the show kind of implies pretty strongly that he was always destined to be this, but we'll get to that later. It's, I don't know, whatever. Chief is on one side of the race, Makee is on the other side of the race, doing the Covenant side of the Keystone thing, and then we have Kwan Ha. Outside of giving Master Chief a love interest, Kwan Ha is the show's most baffling choice. She is a character that takes up a majority of the B-plot for the entirety of the show. She's a completely original character, and her story starts right with the opening scene of the first episode. Her planet gets taken over by the UNSC after saving them from a Covenant attack. Her father dies, and then she spends a massive chunk of the first season doing things that are completely unrelated to Halo in any respect. Not like different interpretation of this story, like completely and totally unrelated. No Covenant, no rings, no Forerunners, no Halo, no Chief. Nada. After episode 2, her story turns into this completely separate Tatooine-esque rebellion underground crime lord subplot thing that feels like CW's The 100 got accidentally edited into the Halo show. I'm not even going to recap every beat for beat because the point is simple. Kwan's story is boring. It's completely disconnected from anything related to Halo, and it drags down the entire show. Once Chief leaves her behind at the end of this second episode, every minute this show spends on her planet of Madrigal and the pirates and the random human goons driving GMC Yukons in the desert is a minute it's not spending on the one thing people came here for. And before someone writes in the comments, but it's a new timeline, they can do whatever they want. I get that. I'm not against changes to a series lore. I'm against bad changes that replace strong story material with weak-ass story material. I'm against creating entirely new plots that take up 40% of the runtime and have nothing to do with the foundation of Halo. I cannot stress this enough. She has nothing to do with Halo. The Season 1 showrunner openly said that the creative team here didn't play the games, and they avoided referencing them completely because they wanted creative freedom. And on paper, I actually kind of understand the essence of that from an artist's standpoint. Halo's campaigns are not character dramas for the most part. They're mythic action stories with broad strokes and iconic moments. If you're making a long-running television drama, you have to deepen the characters. You have to build relationships. You have to create subplots that work episodically. Fine, but why did creative freedom have to mean throwing out the core plot structure? There's a version of this adaptation where you keep the spine of Combat Evolved intact. You keep the central mystery of the ring, but you still do the deeper character work for Chief. You can absolutely fold in the Halsey kidnapping and the Spartan program's moral horror as part of Chief's internal arc, while the events of the first game play out externally. To me, that doesn't seem impossible. It's just obviously harder to accomplish when you spend so much of the budget building these big-ass sets on a sand planet called Madrigal for this weird subplot about fucking space gangsters and rebellion, and then Keystone scavenger hunts on top of that. And this is where I can't shake the feeling that Season 1 of this show started life as a completely different science fiction show. We've got a little bit of a Joker situation on our hands. Originally, I think this show's script started out as this kind of Game of Thrones in space streaming pitch before Halo even got involved in the first place. It had a lot of human politics, it had lots of different storylines, lots of different planets, lots of serious drama. Then Halo gets fast-tracked with the involvement of Steven Spielberg, and Paramount realizes that they need a flagship show on their new Paramount Plus streaming service back in 2022. They already have this Game of Thrones in space script kind of just laying around, and Halo's been trying to get made for like 10 years. So, executives need a franchise, and fast, so why don't you just combine the two? The original Game of Thrones in space style script gets a surface level rewrite, Halo gets made immediately, and boom, that's how this happened.
Well, let's be nice. Let's be nice. We don't have to go there. I mean, you're not wrong, but you didn't have to say it. I mean, good Lord.
Because you cannot convince me that almost an entire episode, when I'm talking about episode 7 here, the entire episode almost is dedicated to Quan Han, this character of Soren, fighting this space gang led by the guy from Pacific Rim on a Tatooine-style desert set that we've already seen once before. It's already been done on this set in this season, and it has nothing to do with the Halo Expanded Universe again. You're kidding yourself if you think this episode has anything to do with Halo beyond some suit slapping the UNSC logo on a wall. There's no Chief, there's no Cortana, there's no Covenant, there's no Ring, there's no Forerunners, there's no Spartans, there's no Warthogs, there's no Brutes, there's no Flood, nothing. They aren't even using the classic Halo weapons. It's just so generic. And the worst part is, even if it wasn't Halo branded, it still wouldn't be good. It's not like this is a great science fiction plot that just happens to be in the wrong franchise. It's mediocre science fiction filler at best that becomes actively insulting when it's eating up runtime in a Halo show. And this leads to my big season 1 beef. It just feels so cheap. And if you look at the price tag on this thing, it's outrageous. It doesn't make any sense. Sometimes the first season of this show really can look fantastic. There are some legitimately impressive practical sets. The Mjolnir Spartan armor, when it's on screen in good lighting, looks real and heavy in a way that should have been the show's ace up its sleeve. A lot of the Covenant designs are solid as well. The grunts and the jackals and the prophets, all of this is photorealistic CG that looks amazing. And there's some great stunts in here. All the ingredients are here. But then a lot of the time, everything around all that good stuff gives off this really shitty CW vibe. The writing, the blocking, the cinematography, the color grading, the pacing, it all looks a step below prestige science fiction streaming shows that are on other platforms like Apple and, other stuff. It's mostly just Apple. It's not unwatchable. It's just that it becomes pretty clear this creative team that was behind building the whole thing wasn't capable of adapting the scale and scope of the Halo universe to the small screen. And it pulls you out of the immersion basically on a scene-to-scene basis. The first season's crew clearly bit off more than they could chew. And the action scenes are supposed to be like the selling point of this show. I mean, it's Halo, it's an action franchise, and even those scenes feel like there's this coin flip when it comes to the quality. One moment you'll get this sick action beat where somebody gets thrown across a fucking wall in this amazing wire stunt and it feels so cool and so professional, and then you'll get these shitty first-person camera shots that look so awkward and so forced. Or you'll get gunplay where the classic Halo weapons are firing like just generic, fully automatic assault rifles. And yes, I know I'm getting annoying and I'm getting nitpicky, but this is more than like gamer nerd bitches online. Like, this is real attention to detail. The DMR is not fully automatic. The battle rifle is not a 60-round spray and pray machine. These guns are iconic. Anyone who's even played 5 seconds of one of these games knows that Halo's weapons have a rhythm. They have a feel. They're iconic for a reason. If you're going to take the time and effort to physically recreate these weapons perfectly and then make them behave wrong, it doesn't really feel like an accident. It kind of reinforces this core impression that you get that permeates through the entirety of Season 1 that the people who made this season of television don't like Halo. Or at the very least, they don't respect what we love about Halo. Now, I need to calm down. I know I'm getting a little heated, and honestly, I could spend like 3 full hours listing off every single inconsistency and every weird writing decision from Season 1, but honestly, kind of feels like everybody's already done that. So instead, I want to focus on the biggest season I can find in Season 1. One of the 2 writing choices that I genuinely think are unforgivable. And no, before you start writing in the comments that I haven't gotten to it yet, I am not talking about how much Chief takes off his helmet throughout this show, or even his romantic subplot with zero chemistry that they gave him. People still, to this day, get mad about all that, and I understand the instinct, but bitching about those superficial plot elements feels a little surface level. This is TV. They cast Pablo Schreiber. They paid him millions of dollars, most likely. They were always going to use his face and make him kiss people. That's just the medium. You have to expect that. But If I'm being completely honest, I did not expect them to also strip him and make him take his pants off and show his bare ass cheeks on top of all that. That one threw me for a loop. And I really think they probably should have known better. Like, you have to know that the internet's gonna run away with that one. But sadly, this show never really lived down the Master Cheeks meme, and honestly, I don't feel bad for them, but I'm getting sidetracked. That is not what I'm talking about when it comes to the unforgivable sin of Season 1. All of those things I listed suck ass, don't get me wrong, but the first truly unforgivable writing choice in the first season is what they do with Cortana and John 117, especially in the Season 1 finale. If you somehow haven't actually watched it and don't know what I'm talking about, in the Season 1 finale, after implanting Cortana directly into John's physical brain, they have Cortana completely take over Chief's body. She totally takes over his mind and his autonomy in a last-ditch effort to win the final battle and escape with one of the Keystones, after Master Chief just gives up and says he can't do it. And I'm sorry, that cannot happen. That's not just like changing up the dynamics between two characters. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes their relationship work. The entire Halo saga is built on the partnership between these two. Cortana is not some puppet master, and Chief is not someone who gives up and hands the wheel over because he's tired. That dynamic destroys both characters at once. You can do Chief struggles with his humanity stories, and I understand that what they were going for is that Chief has to give over his humanity to save humanity. You can do Cortana's influence is complicated stories. But the show goes straight to a version of their relationship that feels like complete and total character assassination. And it's extra frustrating because it doesn't even make sense within the scene. Cortana doesn't do anything Chief couldn't physically do himself. The show isn't showing Cortana gaining any newfound abilities after taking over his brain. She just shoots her way out and grabs the keystone. Like, I know Chief can't touch it, but also McKee is dead at this point, so they both can't activate the map or anything. It just feels like character assassination, written as a shortcut to get out of an all hope is lost type finale. It's a shock moment that might work in a different story with a different artificial intelligence character, but not Cortana. This'll happen every now and then in a media adaptation, especially in video game adaptations, where the creators will fuck up a character's foundation so badly that it ruins the whole thing for the diehard fan. And when it does, you always get a bunch of people online coming out of the woodwork and being like, why are you so mad, bro? Just get over it, bro. And I'm always trying in my real life to come up with a comparison for my friends who aren't as big of a nerd as me so that they really understand the severity of what they've just done to something you love. Like in the upcoming John Madden biopic, where Nicolas Cage is playing John Madden for my football fans, this is as if they have him playing him as a guy who doesn't love the sport of football and his secret passion is ballet or something. You know, there's nothing wrong with ballet, it's just so clearly not what John Madden was into or known for. It's character assassination. Everybody knows that John Madden made video games. Like, come on, guys. God, that's a bad joke. Or it's like that Donald Trump movie that came out a few years ago with Sebastian Stan. It's like if they portrayed him in that movie as a guy who was a decent human being with a soul, who didn't lie, rape, and steal, you know? Like, that doesn't make any sense. The Cortana stuff in the finale is where I personally checked out. I mean, it's not like a great season of television prior to that. I was already hanging on by a thread, but that was the moment where it became really clear to me that the creative team for the first season would cross any line, no matter how foundational, to force their non-Halo plot to work.
Shutting down Neural Bridge.
Then Season 2 rolls around, and honestly, the whole reason I wanted to watch this show in the first place is because I kept hearing Season 2 is a huge improvement. People were saying it course corrects for the better. It fixes things. So I wanted to know if that was actually true. And the honest answer is, it's better, but it still doesn't really work. Season 2 is a massive improvement in some areas, and it's a significant improvement visually, at the very least. There are stretches where this thing actually feels like a Halo-adjacent epic science fiction war story. There are moments that made me sit up and go, okay, there it is. That's what you should have been doing this whole fucking time.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
But the rot from Season 1 is still there. The storytelling priorities are still off. The bad side plots are still hogging up all the runtime, and when Season 2 commits its own unforgivable sin, it basically locks in its own demise for me personally. For those of you who don't know, Season 2 is split into 2 halves. The first 4 episodes are basically an adaptation of the classic Halo story, The Fall of Reach, in this nice little 4-episode arc. It's not book accurate, it's not game accurate, but it is admittedly entertaining at the very least. And the second half of the season is about our characters kind of just fucking meandering around the galaxy, dealing with the planetary loss of Reach, Chief's anger at Oni, and also the show drags us back into the Keystone nonsense from Season 1 that I thought we were fucking done with. And then also at the very end, the Flood show up, because the writers remembered that Halo also has some pretty cool cosmic horror in it. They do try to course correct pretty hard though. Episode 1 immediately tries to patch Season 1's worst mistake by removing Cortana from Chief's head in this 10-second scene with basically no explanation. They also tell us that Madrigal, that fun Tatooine-style planet that we just love so much, got glassed off screen, which is honestly hilarious because the show spent so much time there in Season 1 and then it just flushes it down the toilet like the turd that it was. And Quan Ha survives without explanation because I can't have nice things.
The thing about war. I never.
No! Fuck! Shit!
Also, I just want to point out that none of my hatred of the Quan stuff is on the actress who plays her. It is not her performance that's the problem, and it's not her fault that she was given this bullshit to say. It's not her fault that they gave her that god-awful haircut in Season 1. She got a raw deal here. She's clearly a very talented actress, and I hope that she has a long career in much better stuff. The powers that be above her pay grade gave her this, and she's clearly doing her best. My anger is pointed squarely at the entire subplot being made by executives and creative teams that don't fucking care about Halo. Either way, the first episode of Season 2 starts with this pretty solid one-take action sequence early on where Chief is fighting this horde of elites as they try and glass this planet, and it actually kind of fucking rocks. It's the kind of thing that makes you go, okay, Season 2, okay, things might be a little bit different. And after that fight, the momentum actually kind of keeps up because the early season leans into this paranoia angle where Chief is warning everyone about Covenant activity on Reach, and the UNSC and Oni keep gaslighting him to maintain their planetary control and prevent a panic. On paper, I really like this. I really do. I love the idea that Oni is this CIA-style organization that will gaslight their greatest warrior just to buy time to save their own executive asses. They will abandon the planet and prevent a panic that hinders their ability to escape. They're not about saving lives, they're about saving themselves. That's a story that makes sense to me in this universe. It's political, it's grimy, it's believable, and it's unfortunately very relatable, which sucks. The problem is, because there always has to be one on the flip side with this show, they drag it out for far too long. Once Reach falls and Chief is vindicated, the show keeps milking the same "is Chief losing it" tension for a bunch of episodes after the fall. It stops being suspenseful and starts getting fucking exhausting. Especially because Silver Team in every other medium, I mean just look at Halo 5, it doesn't have a lot of great things in it, but it does have a good version of Silver Team in it, are the people who follow Chief into hell on nothing but his word alone. This version of the team spends half the time doubting him because the show needs drama. And even when the Chief storyline is working, Season 2 still keeps cutting away to Quan and Soren doing their own separate plot that remains, up until a certain point, very loosely connected to the main Halo plot at best. And the show tries to stitch it all together by bringing Soren to Reach, and no matter how hard I try, no matter how much I spin it in my head, I just can't make any of it make sense. For some inexplicable reason, Oni decides to capture Soren and relocate his ex-Spartan ass to Reach that they know is about to get destroyed. Then they store him in the exact same cell as their most valuable prisoner, who also happens to be the smartest woman in the galaxy, and they leave them unsupervised. And then, oh, who would have thought they work together and they survive? It's basically like a Dr. Evil bad Bond villain plot, you know? Why would you leave them? Why would you leave them?
All right, guard, begin the unnecessarily slow-moving dipping mechanism. Close the tank!
Wait, aren't you even gonna watch them? They could get away.
No. I'm going to leave them alone and not actually witness them dying. I'm just going to assume it all went to plan. What?
The plotting is just so convoluted. You can see the writer shoving pieces around on the chessboard to force the B plot into the A plot when they need them to get out of another all hope is lost scenario. And the frustrating part for me is the fix for this season seems so obvious. I believe that they should have attempted a soft reboot after the poor reception to season 1. And the first step, in my opinion, would be to write these characters out and restart with new ones on Reach. Everything that happens in the first few minutes of the first episode sets up for this perfectly. They almost had it. If you want the war to feel costly, let some characters die. Quan and Soren could have been casualties of the Covenant warpath. Not only would it have removed them from season 2 entirely, but the death of that family we spent a lot of time with in season 1 would have actually added weight to Chief's guilt and trauma, reinforcing that PTSD angle that's going on in the first few episodes. Instead, the show keeps dragging them along, even though their presence does not enrich the Halo parts of this story.
I did that. That was me.
Now, before we actually talk about the fall of Reach, because I have thoughts, I want to talk about Chief and Cortana again, because season 2 still doesn't seem to understand them. They get a lot closer, but they still don't understand them. I truly believe the creative team that took over for season 2 actually did have the chops to fix this whole situation. But the two characters spend the entire season completely separated from each other. There just isn't enough screen time between Master Chief and Cortana to cover the ground needed to fix this. So they end up making these massive emotional leaps that feel super unmotivated. In one 10-second shot, we're told that Cortana is removed from Chief's dome and gets locked away by the UNSC until a few episodes later when she gets stolen by McKee and the Arbiter. We'll get to that in a second. Cortana then spends most of the season working on the Covenant side of the Keystone plot while Chief jerks his little dick pining for her. There's even a scene where Chief goes to this cyberpunk-style hologram brothel thing and tries to hook up with a discount Cortana imitation. It's weird, but not like insightfully weird, it's just weird. Haven't these people seen Robot Chicken? The relationship rides a very fine line between being sweet and being weird, and having Chief go to a brothel does not help put it on the sweet side of things. And that's not even addressing the insane leaps in emotional attachment that these two make in like the span of 2 episodes. At most. Their attachment to each other doesn't feel earned because season 1 never built a real bond between them. Chief spent most of season 1 suspicious of her and very hostile towards her, and then the finale does the whole body takeover nonsense, and then she's pulled out of his head. Suddenly the show wants us to believe that Chief is deeply attached in a way that motivates him for the entire season. Someone explain to me when that happened. No, really, somebody needs to explain to me where in that very short sequence of events did Chief become so enamored with her that he needs to sneak off to this Blade Runner hologram brothel thing. I'm not saying the toxic attachment angle is incorrect, I'm saying it's half-baked and underwritten. Their relationship is the core of Halo's heart, and this show never lays the foundation for that correctly. It just tries to skip to the payoff in season 2. And now, back to The Fall of Reach. Yes, I have the book. I'm a real fan. If anyone was questioning my fucking loyalty to this franchise, I know what I'm talking about. This is the big thing that season 2 really marketed as the reason to come back and watch. And honestly, I can't lie, the marketing was fucking good. The posters looked great. I mean, look at this. How sick is that? The trailers had this epic sense of desperation. It finally felt like they might have understood the assignment. And it truly pains me to say, because I really wanted this to work, that it just doesn't fulfill on that promise from the advertising. The actual attack on Reach is basically 1.5 episodes of the total arc. They build to it for 3, they execute it in about 1.5, and then they immediately start bleeding momentum they earned from it by cutting away to side plots and returning to slower character drama status quo bullshit. To be clear, episodes 4 and 5 of season 2 have the best material the entire series ever produced. There are sequences where everything clicks and it really works. There are multiple fight scenes with Chief out of armor that are genuinely awesome, especially an early one where he fights an elite in the streets who has active camo on. It looks great. It's great stuff. It's the kind of hero without the iconography material that proves the character's competence and willpower, and it's shot with some real creativity and energy. Truly, even if the fight scenes don't totally work 100% of the time, either due to CGI or weird narrative stuff going on, I really respect how ambitious they're being in Season 2. It really feels like they're swinging for the fences in the first half of this season in an attempt to earn your viewership back. It's a lot like Iron Man 3 in that way, but just like in that movie, despite its objective quality, my stupid, dumb, idiot lizard brain is still upset the whole time that I'm not watching the main character be in their cool fancy suit. But even in the show's best episodes, the quality whiplash is still there. You get an incredible shot like this, and then immediately get a classic weapon being fired wrong like this, and I get annoyed. Not only because, as we've established,
That's not how the battle rifle works!
it's just so easy to just switch out the prop if you've choreographed a fully automatic weapon there. Also, it's not helped that none of the actors are even trying to pretend that these weapons have any kickback. Like, look at this. Look at this. I mean, maybe the Spartans don't have to because of their increased strength, but everyone else is just so goddamn still. It's like they're having a Nerf battle in my backyard. It's just really hard to buy into the gravity of this galactic genocide when everybody looks like they're kind of playing games on my screen. And the muzzle flashes do not help. I mean, man, like, look at this. Like, what is this? What are we doing here? How the fuck can they put some incredible work like this on screen, but they can't just composite a realistic muzzle flash or get the classic weapons firing correctly? I just don't get it. I'm legitimately surprised that they didn't make energy swords like green or give them like the Doom style handle or something just to simply rage bait the community, because they basically do it to everything else. I know it sounds nitpicky out of context, especially if you haven't watched the episode firsthand, but I'm telling you, even in its best moments, the little things start to stack up. They create this general feeling of distraction and unease that does not complement some of the best storytelling and artistry in the entire show being put on display. It pulls you out of the immersion super often, and it's a deeper symptom of the franchise's mishandling from the show's executives and showrunners. I know it sounds small, but the small things stack up, and because Halo is so iconically specific, those details matter more here than they would in any other generic science fiction series. And that's really the tragedy here, right? Like, this season proves that this show has flashes of greatness in it. It just can't seem to sustain it. It keeps undercutting itself with shortcuts. So, look, if you're a Halo fan and you're morbidly curious, I will begrudgingly say this. The first episodes of Season 2 are definitely worth watching for the spectacle and for the occasional moment where you glimpse at what this adaptation could have been. If you want Halo content and you're starving on the 25th anniversary of the series while we wait for Campaign Evolved, there is definitely some fun to be had with the first 4 episodes. The back 4 episodes, though, hit the brakes so inexplicably hard. After Reach, the pacing of this fucking thing totally collapses. The show wants to do the quiet aftermath, the trauma, the regrouping of our characters, and that can work, but in my opinion, it only works in stories where the audience is fully bought in and adores these characters. It's boring otherwise. Avengers Endgame, for example, is allowed to spend the first 40 minutes wallowing in the character's sadness because you're invested in these people as people. Well-written, fully formed characters just talking about their pain can be just as enthralling, if not more so, than epic space battles if you're fully invested in who they are. And that's just not the case here. These characters are either completely mischaracterized from the versions we actually are invested in, or they're so paper-thin and poorly acted that it's truly painful to slow back down right as things finally got good 13 hours in. And once again, the plot splinters off from here. Chief goes back to the UNSC in an attempt to get revenge on the suits who left him to die and reclaim his armor so he can define who he wants to be inside of it. And then Quan, Soren, and Halsey chase the missing kid, who I haven't even talked about because it's just so fucking boring and, again, unrelated to Halo. And then they stumble upon a bunch of Forerunner stuff where, of course, the Flood are being held. Because I mean, I guess we might as well, right? McKee and the Arbiter continue to exist, the Keystone plot comes back, and the show tries to do all of this at once, and none of it is as entertaining as the first 4 episodes were, and even that was a low bar to clear. Like, it's such a low bar. Ugh. I will give season 2 this. The idea of Chief reclaiming his armor and choosing for himself what it represents, separate from the UNSC propaganda, is really good stuff. That's a legitimately interesting angle for the character to take in a TV format. I also think that the Flood in the limited screen time that they get are admittedly pretty sick. The infected performances are creepy, the effects are top-notch, and yes, obviously it borrows a lot from The Last of Us visually, but with the budget and constraints that they had, this is one of the better adaptations of an iconic Halo element. And then the show finally gets on a Halo ring. 16 hours into this story, we are finally on a Halo ring. And I can't lie to you, these scenes got me. They got me. I mean, come on, it's got Master Chief in this beautifully crafted live-action armor, and he's looking up at that skyline with the ring stretched into the sky, and Jen Taylor's voice as Cortana as a hint of the classic musical theme comes in. I know, it's too little too late, but I just can't help myself. It does admittedly get me in the feels. It taps directly into that part of my brain that remembers being a kid, booting up Halo 3 and feeling like the 2008 financial crisis wasn't ruining my parents' marriage downstairs. Like I said, they got me. I'm compromised. I don't know what to tell you. This is what the show should have been the entire fucking time. I know it's only like 10 minutes of an entire 2-season run, but it's just so good, and that's what I mean about the peaks and valleys of quality in this show. I'm sure it wasn't cheap, and I'm sure there were executive mandates that forced them to do all the other stupid shit that they've been doing. And I am well aware that hundreds, if not thousands of people worked to make this show happen, plenty of whom were probably diehard Halo fans. But if this is what the show started as, I truly believe that a lot of the other flaws would have been overlooked, and the show would still be on the air right now. This is what the Halo show should have been the entire time. And we only get like 10 minutes of it in a 17-hour show. We don't need to watch Quan Ha and Soren fight a space gangster on Tatooine. We don't need to watch Master Chief kiss an alien space grifter. We never needed to spend hours grabbing onto these cheap plastic keystones and making orgasm faces.
Do I make you horny, baby?
All this show ever needed was a well-made Master Chief costume, the classic Halo theme, and a forest landscape with a Halo ring in the skyline. Obviously I'm no expert, but I kind of believe you could have made this show cheaper on the ring as well. You could have set most of the episodes in either human ship interiors or Forerunner interiors, and then do the exterior forest with a composited ring in the sky. You could have saved money by not making multiple Spartan suits for Silver Team, and hell, you probably could have even repeated some of the same fucking dumb plot points that you were forced on, like Chief's childhood kidnapping or showing his butt cheeks. Just do it on a fucking Halo ring. They could have saved so much money by just focusing on the tone. All you needed was a ring, a Chief that feels like Chief, a big mystery, and those fucking chants from the music. That's all you need. Then we get to the finale. I'm not even really gonna bother with the other side plots at this point either. They're fine, it's not great, but it's not as bad as things we've seen before. And all I'm really interested in talking about at this point is the Chief stuff anyways, so let's just pretend there's nothing else here to talk about. And this is where the show commits, in my opinion, its second and final unforgivable sin. Chief and the Arbiter. Yeah, he's in this show, even though I haven't mentioned him until now. It didn't really feel all that pertinent to what was actually going on. But Chief and the Arbiter get into an all-out CGI slugfest to the death. Winner takes the Halo ring. It's teased all season long, and the fight itself is pretty damn good, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe my expectations have been brought down so low that I'll accept anything at this point, because it does look pretty CGI, but it is brutal. It's energetic, it's violent, and Halo action is always going to rely on effects due to the nature of the characters. It's just what it is. All the nitpicks aside, for me, the fight works. And then the Chief fucking kills the Arbiter. not accidentally, not in some tragic misunderstanding. He wins the fight and then guts the Arbiter like a fucking pig with an energy sword. And the show even has the audacity to toy with your knowledge of Halo lore. They have the Arbiter saying all the right kinds of things. They hint at his ability for rebellion. They spend all season building towards the Arbiter's emotional journey, which in Halo leads to one of the strongest arcs in the entire franchise. Enemy turned ally. This show depicts a man wrestling with faith, honor, guilt, and morality. The Arbiter is one of the only characters in the Bungie trilogy who gets any real character development at all, and his friendship with Chief becomes one of the emotional backbones of Bungie's story. And the show just has Chief fucking kill him. You know, it's like seasons and seasons of character writing are right there for you to adapt. The Arbiter is built for TV, and they just have the Chief fucking kill him. I straight up do not get it. I can only really assume that it was for budgetary reasons, because obviously it isn't cheap to have a 9-foot-tall elite be the co-main character of your live-action series. But maybe, roll with me here, maybe if they made some better fucking decisions earlier on and prioritized the things in Halo that people actually cared about, they could have cut a bunch of the expensive bullshit people hate anyways and spent that money on the Arbiter's screen time. It's so fucking easy. I truly just do not get it. He's a core piece of what makes Master Chief's story. Their journey from enemies to begrudging rivals with a shared goal to genuine main homies is one of the best parts of Halo, and it's perfectly set up to be fleshed out in a long-form television format. It's just so fucking insulting.
He was indeed my enemy. But in time, I named him ally, even friend.
That decision is the perfect encapsulation of what's wrong with this adaptation. It doesn't matter how good the armor looks, it doesn't matter how expensive the battle is. The show repeatedly mistreats, underrepresents, or outright discards the foundational ideas that make Halo special. And then it tries to replace them with some generic science fiction drama that just isn't strong enough to stand on its own. Because Halo is the story where the Arbiter lives, changes, and becomes something bigger than just a boss fight. And after this is all kind of over, the finale just kind of peters out. The Flood are unleashed, characters have died, Halsey gets infected and frozen in carbonite, and McKee just kind of walks away. And then right at the end, we return to this framing device with Chief talking to 343 Guilty Spark that's been popping up occasionally all season. I haven't really talked about it up until this point because it's super weird. It just feels like so weirdly edited. Like, I'm not against a conversation with 343 Guilty Spark, and I actually think it looks really good, and I love the voice actor who's doing it right here. It's not bad, but it was just so clearly shot after everything was finished because focus groups weren't getting the intended thematic message with Chief. So they shot this kind of weird exposition scene and then they cut it into the season. Outside of being transparently shot after principal filming had wrapped, it also has a bunch of weird continuity problems. Like if you look here, Chief is talking to 343 Guilty Spark without his helmet on. Then he lifts his head up as the final shot of the season and the show, and the helmet is broken in half so you can see his eyes. But right before this whole scene, he was walking into the building, presumably where he's talking to 343 Guilty Spark, with his fully functional, undamaged helmet on his head. So, like, if we're following these scenes in sequential order, when did that get broken? Who broke that? Who edited this? Is that broken helmet thing just to reinforce what they added to Season 2's title sequence? Because it doesn't actually physically happen in anything we see in the show. It's just, like, is that supposed to be just some weird tie-in to the title sequence? I just don't get it. And then it ends, and the show quickly got canceled. And I really can't pretend now that I've seen it that I'm shocked. Here's the thing. Season 2 is a real upgrade in production value. The cinematography is so much better. The lighting is so much better. The sets and costumes are so much better. The Covenant action is generally so much better. You can tell there was a lot of really talented people working on this, people who care about making it look good. But no matter how hard they try, they seemingly do not care about the little things, the small details that true fans care a considerable amount about. And after giving a considerable amount of your valuable time on this earth to this creative team, ultimately it ends up feeling like that time could have been better spent just watching the Halo 2 anniversary cutscenes. Nothing in this show comes close to what they were able to do at Blur Studios in 2014. No matter how nice they dress it up, no matter how many incredibly talented people they bring in to try and fix it, the core is still Halo in name only. The show just doesn't understand the tone of Halo, and it does not understand the characters within it. It treats the Halo aesthetic like this set dressing while telling a story that could be any generic science fiction conspiracy drama. And when it reaches for Halo's biggest pillars, Chief and Cortana, the fall of Reach, or Chief and the Arbiter, it either rushes them, warps them, or ruins them. So yeah, I mean, calling it a mixed bag is putting it lightly. Maybe it's a good thing that this whole thing came crashing down. Maybe the one good thing to come from all this is that it failed, because at least that's a sign to the executives' suits. If this had blown up and gotten 5 seasons and a spin-off off this foundation, we'd be cooked. The only language that executives truly understand is eyeballs and wallets. If the message they took home from this failed show is that you can't just slap a beloved IP on any old generic script and call it a day, then fine. I'll take the wins where I get them. That's something. I'm not optimistic, but I'd love to be wrong. And that's my opinion on the Paramount Plus Halo TV show. But if you disagree, or if you think I missed anything, and if you want to see this show come back for a 3rd season now that it's apparently super popular on Netflix, let me know down below in the comments. And if you like what I do here, please leave a like on the video. It really helps let YouTube know it needs to show my videos to more wonderful people like you. Until next time,